Okay, we're going to take a look at addition and subtraction of rational numbers. We've already started this in class, but in case we didn't get through the whole thing, we're going to finish it up in this video. So, suppose you have a 7th grader's birthday is today, and she is 12 years old. How old was she 3.5 years ago? And we want to write an equation using the number line to model our answer. So I've already gone and I have put the numbers in here. Let's go ahead and we'd show how we'd model this. So if we have 12 years old, then what we would do is start from 0 and draw our number line to 12. And then if it was 3.5 years ago, that means we would be going backwards because that would give the impression of subtraction. So if we go 1, 2, 3, and then we have to draw in a half, so that this is 3.5. And so in between 8 and 9 would be 8.5. So we know that the answer is 8.5. And then let's go ahead and model this with an equation. So what we did was we have 12 and we have minus 3.5, which is equal to 8.5. However, we can also write this as 12, and because, again, using our number line, we have added, we'd start at the end of one arrow or vector, and we have added a minus 3.5. So this is where addition and subtraction are related. And our answer is still the same, 8.5. But we can say 12 minus 3.5 or 12 plus a negative 3.5. All right, let's go down to the next example. And we're just going to walk through this. So basically, we're going to put the tail of the arrow on 12. So all we're doing is we're just going to skip that step about drawing the vector from 0 to 12. If we know that 12 is our beginning number, then we're just going to start with 12 and we're going to go back 3.5. So this would be 1, 2, 3, and then a half, which puts us right here. All right, so if we have 3.5, know that this is 3.5 units. All right, and it says the length of the arrow should be the absolute value of minus 3.5, and that is true. So minus 3.5 is the absolute value of minus 3.5, which is 3.5. The direction of the arrow is to the left, since you are adding a negative number to 12. So that's where we have 12 plus a negative 3.5. That's where the negative comes from because the arrow is pointing to the left. And that is where we get 8.5. All right, let's take a look at exercise 2. Find the following sum using the number line diagram minus 2.5 plus 5. And the number line is already created for us. So we have to find minus 2.5. Now remember, we're not going to go from 0 to minus 2.5. We're just going to find 2.5, which is right here. This would be minus 2.5. And then we want to add 5. So that means our tail is going to start at minus 2.5, and adding 5 means that we're going to move to the right. And I'm just going to count by halves. So if this is 2.5, this would be minus 1.5, that's 1. This would be minus a half, that's 2. This would be 1/2, that's 3. This would be 1.5, that's 4. And this would be 2.5, which is 5, and that's what we want, 5 units. So essentially and this is 2 and 1/2. So essentially what we have is our equation is minus 2.5 plus 5 is going to be positive 2.5. All right, let's flip to the next page. All right, for our next example representing a difference of rational numbers on a number line, we're going to rewrite the difference 1 minus 2 1/4 as the sum 1 plus minus 2 1/4. And again, to do that, we're going to put the tail on 1. So if we find 1, that's going to be right here. I've already numbered my number line. And notice how I've numbered it in fourths. And then underneath, if we have like 4/4, that's the same as 1, and 5/4 is the same as 1 1/4. So if we put the tail of the arrow on 1, then we're going to move the length of the arrow is minus 2 1/4. So the length is going to be 2 1/4. Keeping in mind that the direction I'm going to go in is to the left. So here is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4, and 5/4, which is, we're still not done yet, 5/4, 6/4, 7/4, 8/4, and 9/4. Okay, so this length of my arrow right here is 2 1/4. Keeping in mind that this is in a negative direction because it's pointing to the left. So my answer then is 1 minus 2 1/4 is the same as minus 1 1/4. What we did was 1 plus a negative 2 1/4, and that is what got us to negative 1 1/4. So notice how if we start at 1 and we subtract 2 1/4, that is the length, but because it is also in the negative direction, we can say we're adding a negative 2 1/4, and that's still going to get us to negative 1 1/4. All right, exercise 3. Find the following difference and represent it on the number line. Minus 5.5 minus minus 8. So again, if we start at minus 5.5, that is going to be right here. Here is minus 5 plus a minus half is minus 5.5. And we're going to put our tail here. Now again, we're subtracting a negative 8, which means in essence we are adding 8 to it. So I'm going to count by 8s. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So my vector is 8 units long, so there's 8 units. And because we're subtracting a negative, that's going to make my answer become more positive. And this becomes 2 1/2. So how do we write this? Minus 5 1/2 is the same as adding 8, which means I am at 2 1/2. Positive 2 1/2. Because remember, the opposite of 8 is minus 8. And the opposite of that is a positive 8. So that's why we end up going positive 8 units. All right, exercise 4. I've already numbered the number lines. You're supposed to do this yourself. So stop the video, try these yourself, and then go ahead and continue the video and check to see if you're correct. All right, so here's the first one. If I'm adding 5 1/4, starting at negative 6, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm adding a 4th. So that's going to put me 1/4. I'll just put this 1/4 here. And this whole other part of it was 5. But if I have minus 1 and I've taken away a 4th, then where I'm at is at negative 3/4. So the way I'd write this is minus 6 plus 5 1/4 is equal to negative 3/4. Okay, so in order to subtract, what I'd be doing is subtracting 5 and 4/4, or I'm sorry, I would turn this into 5 and 4/4, subtract 5 and 1/4, that leaves me with a negative 3/4. All right, let's take a look at B. If this is 7 minus a minus 9, then here's 7. Minus a minus 9 means that I'm actually 7 plus 0.9. So that means I'm going to add 9/10. Well, if I'm adding 9/10, that's going to take me to about right here, 0.9. So in essence, I have 7 minus a minus 0.09 is the same as 7 plus 0.9, and so my answer is 7 and 9/10. So right here, this arrow is 7.9. All right, let's check your work on the rest of them. So for C, we have 2.5 plus a negative 1/2. Move my arrow out of the way here. All right, so 2.5 would be right here. So this is 2.5. And I'm adding a negative 1/2. So that means I'm going backwards. This would be minus 1/2. So in essence, 2.5 plus a negative 1/2 is just 2. All right, for D, I have minus 1/4 plus 4. Minus 1/4 would be right here, approximately. So here's minus 1/4. And I'm going to add 4. So if I add, this would be the equivalent of 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice what happens here. This is, if I take away a 4th from 1, that's 3/4. So that would be 1 3/4, 2 3/4, and 3 3/4. So this is 3/4 and a 3. And this whole line here is the length of 4. So minus 1/4 plus 4 is equal to 3 3/4. All right, the last one, E. If I have 1/2, so here is 1/2 right here. So I'm going to put the end of my tail, and then I'm subtracting a minus 3, which again is the same as adding 3. So I'm going to add 1, 2, 3. Well, that's going to take me, if this is 3 units, to 3.5. So 1/2 minus a negative 3 is equal to 3.5. The same as 1/2 plus 3 is 3.5. All right, last part. For exercise 5, we have some equations. So create an equation and a number line diagram. So you're going to have to draw these out. Samantha owes her father $7. So that is, it owes her father. Owes her father. So owing means that this is a minus 7. She just got paid $5.50 for babysitting, so that's going to be considered adding $5.50. If she gives that money to her dad, how much money will she still owe him? So we have minus 7, which is right here. Adding $5.50, that's $5 plus 50 cents. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have another 50 cents. So we're at minus 150. Okay? Now, how we would write that is minus $7. And we are adding $5.50, so 5.50 is minus 150. So if we were to write this out, we don't say that she owes him minus 150. We say that she owes him $1.50. The owing takes care of the negative sign. So we can say she's in the hole, minus 150, but she owes him, we don't say minus 150. All right. At the start of a trip, car's gas tank contains 12 gallons of gasoline. During the trip, the car consumes 10 1/8 gallons of gasoline. How much gasoline is left in the tank? So if we start at 12, which is right here, and consuming means that this is going to be minus, so minus 10 1/8. So we're going to be moving to the left. And again, minus 10 1/8 is minus 10 plus minus 1/8. So if I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then add another 8. Okay, so this would be minus 10 1/8. Well, if I take away an 1/8, how many 8s are left? Well, that'd be 7 8s. So what is left over is 3 7/8 gallons of gas. So how would we write that? That would be 12 minus 10 and an 8, which is 3 7/8. Or again, if we want to write this as an addition problem, it would be 12 plus a negative 10 and an 8. Because again, we're adding a left pointing vector, and that gives us 3 7/8. All right, the last one, which I'm not going to have enough room here because this is asking for a vertical diagram, so I'm going to do it on the back. A fish is swimming 3.5 feet below the water surface. 4 hours later, the fish was at a depth that is 5 1/4 feet below that. So what rational number represents position of the fish? So let me flip over. I went ahead and wrote down the important pieces of information, and I've already created my number line. So if the fish already started at 3.5 feet below, then as an integer that is minus 1 and minus 3.5. So on my number line, that would be 3.5. So right here, because this right here is minus 3 1/2. Then it dropped 5 1/4 below that. So again, counting by halves, this would be 1, if this is a half right here, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I have to add a 4th to that, which is going to put it right about here. Well, notice that's between minus 8.5 and minus 9, which is minus 8 3/4. Okay, so we've dropped 5 1/4 feet, and now we're at minus 8 3/4. So how do we write that? 3 1/2 minus, minus 3.5 minus 5 1/4 is equal to minus 8 3/4. And how do you write that as an addition problem? Because again, we're adding a negative. It would be minus 3.5 plus a negative 5 1/4 is minus 8 3/4. All right, there you go.